Good afternoon, fellow Ambazonians. Today it be the 5th day for February 2023. I come outside today for can give this one a serious warning for this ghost town where it come. And I talk today like una pikin, una soldier where they stand the fight for the revolution for free the homeland. I give this warning for Meme especially. Me where talk my name na Lucyfer. I give this warning for driver them, Okada people, for the Kumba, Ekondo, road. Say as from Tuesday the 7th day for February 2023, bike, motor, bicycle, pedestrian, your latest time for you for step for that road. Now 6 o'clock for evening time. Any person who catch you where the worker above 6 o'clock with motor, Okada, bicycle, every pedestrian, may you get yourself to be blamed because I shoot you and kill you close range. I talk this talk, me talk, it go all for all the civilians them, whether they use that road, drivers especially. Make no man, I repeat them again, make no man no use that road. As from 6 o'clock for evening time. So that's 6 o'clock for morning time before motor fee pass or bike fee pass. It means a road is stop for 6 o'clock for evening. No movement. I mean say no movement.
Let me not say it live on show people are watching me. Let me say that on show. I'll say it on audio. I'm saying that on show because I want my name and words to be matched. I have said if you put Chris Animal and Paul Beer and I have a gun with one bullet, what I will do, I will gun down Chris Animal first with that bullet and deal with Paul Beer later because he's a chief manipulator, he's a chief liar, he's the one who has delayed every time we want to focus on the goal. He will come out with different, and Sako Samuel is the one who is controlling him. And so, even if Sako gives the order or not, Sako is involved. And so, Sako Samuel is the number 2 second chief in Hitler. They sit there in Maryland, they move around in hotels, they sex girls, they eat money, they do all kinds of terrible things because these people will pay. And I've said, the one here in UK who call themselves Wisters, if they don't reveal these people who these 23 guys, 22 or so, if they don't reveal them by Monday, then they will see the other side of the force of patriots in Ambazonia. They will see it. They will see it. I have said, we will not fight. Listen, Chacha will stay there and keep fighting. We will not push our boys on Ambazonia to fight among themselves. We, the diaspora, we will not fight amongst ourselves, and the strong will survive. If you're strong, I bow for you. If I'm strong, you bow for me. Take over.
When I put the carton mass graves, the highest mass grave even for Manfred, not one day, no mass grave, no day like probably not bury 22 people. They bury 12, 18, but we don't see Ambazonia don't bury
exactly.
Don't bury 23 or more. 22. Yes, no, 22 because funny picking them. I talk with funny picking them. They did in 70 for come, they cry hungry. So there is no way Nati come here Ambazonia and they didn't bring issue. Somehow can make speech, you fool now go here. It be unacceptable. It be naturally dull because if you go
Master, Chris Amel is a chief enabler.
No, 1 minute.
He's a big enabler. Eric, no play. I need to play diplomacy, Eric. No, I need to play diplomacy.
Now give me small space.
People they for this struggle, they go there for this struggle. If nobody know, they no go there. He's an enabler.
Chief enabler.
Let me learn. I'm saying that.
Every tato. Now you open mouth to say the gay gun, he go kiss at corner here.
The same way they call me back. Sako na number 1 enemy for the revolution. May be very clear. In the same way they treat Pobia, if you see Pobia and Sako, finish with Sako first. Because Sako was, you know.
When I hear. Yeah, talk with person, talk. There's power now. Person when they talk, they cannot say if they put Pobia and Sako, you kill Sako, you left Pobia. By the way, the tell when I say, may they go kill Chris Anu, mommy. May they kill Chris Anu. May they kill Phil Masha. Ambazonians. And then when I want to wait. Chai. You know, sometimes you know, this is more than shocking.
My country people them. Today, Molan Joe Litumbe, he go fight himself and he go defeat himself. your own argument it go fall apart. So this pa na person where it come up with this argument say Njumba no be married. When I don't hear all those arguments and before. Now the same arguments in this way they don't use them for radicalize many Anglophone youth them, and I believe say that one now which way they call them for English say fallacy. This is the fallacy of the Njumba no be married argument. Fallacy now just big English where it means say you get like a mistaken belief, especially for example if you base your decision on an argument where it no be sound or it no be reasonable or it no be truthful, so you make a mistake in your argument. So today when I go hear Molanjo Litumbe, I go make that argument about Njumba no be married, and I go play ye own video again where he self he beat himself, he defeat that same argument where he make him. Wanna listen?
So if you now say that we are one and indivisible, it is just not true. Because the moment you enter the UN, you are bound by the Constitution of the UN, which says that since the Second World War, they formed the United Nations. The question of a member state of the UN joining another territory was specifically provided in the Charter of the United Nations. They said, you can join anybody, but make an agreement in writing, signed by both of you, send a copy to us, and we will notify the world of your union. I said, do you think that I'm crazy? Saying that we are two separate countries can be a treasonable offense if in fact that is not true. I said, show me the marriage certificate joining Southern Cameroon with La Republic, I will shut my mouth. If there is no marriage certificate, it is a Jumba. I said, so sir, what you are saying and miseducating the younger people is just not true. And I said, I believe you just simply annexed us since there is no marriage certificate. I said, I've taken the trouble to go to the United Nations and search whether there is any document signed by Muna or Foncha that we agreed to be together. There is none.
So when I don't hear what the Pamulanjoli to be talk, it talks say when you enter the United Nations, you are bound by the Constitution of the UN. It talk about the United Nations Charter, say it is so if you been a member state of the United Nations and you enter into any international treaty, you're supposed to deposit a copy at the United Nations Secretariat. It is quote now wait away the United Nations Charter Article 102 a talk. But if forget to say that they talk now about member states of the United Nations. So when did the former Southern Cameroons enter the United Nations? When? Which date? Which day? And now who will be their ambassador for United Nations? The truth now say the people then for former British Southern Cameroons, they will be now a colonized people where it will be now a trust territory. It no be sovereign state where it will get a seat at the United Nations. That is a fact. So Article 102 of the United Nations Charter, it no apply to the people then for former British Southern Cameroons because they never ever be a member state of the United Nations. So if you go for United Nations, for go find document where it be signed by John Foncha or St. Muna, it no go ever exist because they never ever represent a sovereign people the way they be get a seat at the United Nations. Simple as that. I hope so that one it be clear. So now, Pa Molanjo Litumbe, he go make the next argument about the Njumba no be married case, and he could defeat himself.
Then I explained to him, you talk about the Fumban conference and so on. I said the constitution binding Southern Cameroon from the day Nigeria became independent was prepared by the Colonial Office in London on the 12th of September 1916. It was put before the British Parliament on the 16th of September 1960, and it became law on 1st of October 1960, the day Nigeria became independent. That was the constitution under which Dr. John Bufonja was working.
Yes, right.
It excluded foreign affairs and defense from the competence of the Southern Cameroon government. It created the post of a commissioner who inherited the powers of the Governor General of Nigeria. When we were being ruled from Nigeria, he had all these powers. He represented the Queen. I said, so for Dr. John Bufonja to go to Fumba to have conversations with Haj Ahmadu Ahidjo, he was acting outside the competence of his office. In fact, it was an illegal act for which he should have been punished, because the constitution which named him premier did not give him any rights over defense or foreign relations.
So my country people them, when I don't hear what Ipa Molanjo Litumbe talk, he say for Dr. John Bufonja forget conversation for Fumban Constitutional Conference with Ahmadu Ahidjo, that one alone is supposed to be a crime where he should be punished, because the constitution where the British they be deciding for London forgive the people them for Southern Cameroons, that constitution it be give John Bufonja the powers for do some kind things them, excluding foreign affairs and defense. Now the same part this way it come on for talk say it go for United Nations to go find any document where John Bufonja or Muna is sign them with a sovereign state with President Ahmadu Ahidjo. How can those two things be true at the same time? It no be possible. Now make I explain the situation for una. Pamolanjoli to tell una say the constitution where it be create the position where John Bufonja be occupy him as the premier of Southern Cameroon. That constitution was not debated in Boya. It was not signed by John Bufonja. No. That constitution, the Order in Council for 1960, it be written in London, debated in the British Parliament, signed by the British, and then imposed on the people them for former Southern Cameroons. Why? Because that territory it no be fit exercise full sovereignty. That territory it will be colonized. That territory it will be a trust territory. And now why that way they be talk say they no get the competence for talk or for discourse or for act when it comes to foreign affairs and defense. So una no understand foreign affairs now like the Ministry of External Relations for enter into international relationship with other nations them, like for sign international treaties and agreements, for get diplomatic relations with other foreign nations them. And then when they talk about defense, they talk about creating an army. So John Bufonja it no be get the competence, it no be get the authority for get an army or for even discuss the foreign affairs or external relations of the former British Southern Cameroon. It said that power it will be vested in the commissioner when a British person, white person, where it will be based in Boya, where the British government, the Queen of England, it will give you the authority for control that territory, for control the army, control the defense, control external relations, even taxation and other things them. When the British they will control them. So make una understand this reality. How can this person it be so unconscionable and so disingenuous for expect for see an international agreement where it get John Bufonja a signature for day, but at the same time the same person in the same breath and the same minute and the same speech it tell una say John Bufonja no be get the competence for enter or even for discourse about the external relations or foreign affairs of Southern Cameroons, because the constitution where it operate under it no be give you those powers. How can he consciously say that John Bufonja no be get the powers for even get discussion for Fumban, but at the same time it expect say John Bufonja go get the powers and the competence for sign on an international document, international treaty with another state where it be foreign and it be sovereign? How are those two things palatable? They are not. And now why that way ye own argument it fall apart. Yes yourself it don't slap himself and it don't defeat his own argument. So now why that way when I see why I call am say na a fallacy. The fallacy of this argument saying Jumba no be married, it falls apart in the face of any commoner where he examine them. You go see am say it fall apart. A fallacy just means say you make a decision where it be based on mistakes or it not be grounded in facts and reality. So basically you make a mistake in your argument. Now what that way a fallacy it mean. So when I say and say all these people then when they come out from the Anglophone zone, their arguments in no whole water. You see and say their own argument it not the work. Now why that way it no go stand any person where it gets sense. And that the main reason this way, their argument they only talk now amongst themselves. Whenever they take this same argument, go on the international scene, they tell them say that one now una internal problem inside Cameroon. Make una go resolve them within the boundaries of Cameroon, because the whole world it recognize Cameroon as one. Whether you sing them from January to December, it no could change the fact. Say independence means recognition. Recognition from the international community like the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union, and all the other international organizations there. They recognize Cameroon as one. So whether I wanna sing this Juba no be married argument, it no could change the fact. Say Cameroon is one and indivisible. The person way Pa Molanjo Litumbe expect for sign the international treaty, the so-called international agreement for the married way it expect them. Now Estimona or John Gofoncha. Now the two people then that way you call them, okay? Now the same people then that way it claims that they never get the competence for doing, but now the same people then that way come the 1st of October 1961, John Gofoncha it take a position as the vice president of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. So whether you like him or not, John Gofoncha it be accept the terms and conditions of the union. And make una understand this part where it be also very important. As Molanjo Litumbe talk, he say John Gofoncha it no be get the competence or the authority for discuss the foreign affairs of Southern Cameroons. So who did? That is the question. If John Gofoncha no be get the competence for talk about the external relations of Southern Cameroon, so who be get that authority? The answer is simple. Now the colonial powers, the way they be draft the constitution itself, the constitution where it create the position of the premier of Southern Cameroon, where John Gofoncha it be occupy that position. So now the British government they be get that sovereign power over Southern Cameroon. Now them befit enter into international agreement on behalf of the people then for Southern Cameroon. Make us understand that fact and that reality. Now the British they will get the army for the defense of that territory because it will be in their colonized territory. Now the British they will get the authority for carry out taxation and enter into international agreements on behalf of that territory. And I give you an example. Time where the British they will enter into agreement with the French for divide that territory, former German Cameroon, divide them into the British Cameroons and the French Cameroons. Some Cameroonian man be there for day? No. Ma tell you how you fit take personal sovereignty. Sovereignty if it be taken by the point of a gun. So when the Germans they become colonize that territory, they become now with guns. They seize the territory and they seize the sovereignty of that people then. When the British and the French they come for there for World War II or now World War I, they seize that sovereign power where Germany it be the wield them over that territory. They seize them. And now why that way the British and the French they be shit on them for Europe. They divide that country amongst themselves. So 1919, no African person will be there on that table time where they will do the scramble for Africa and they will divide that territory amongst themselves. No African person will be there for them. Maybe we reckon with the truth. Say we be being a colonized people the way we not be get the powers them for govern ourselves. We did not have a say. And now why that way? The constitution for Southern Cameroon where when they talk about them, they be debate them now for London. They vote them now for British Parliament. And they can impose them for people then for Boya. We don't be get choice. So now why that way? When it become time for terminate the trusteeship agreement, the people then for former British Southern Cameroons they were not there because they never get sovereign power. Now the British government as a sovereign nation and the Cameroon government as a sovereign nation, two sovereign nations them, they enter into an international agreement through an internationally recognized process where they call them say exchange of notes. And now who will represent the British government? Now His Excellency Cecil King, the British ambassador in Yaoundé for 1961, on the 27th of September, he signed exchange of notes with President Amadou Ahidjo. And the exchange of notes, it will be an international agreement, and according to the United Nations Charter, Article 102, that international agreement between the British and the French for transfer sovereignty of Southern Cameroon to President Amadou Ahidjo, that international agreement where it will be done through the exchange of notes for Yaoundé, it will be deposited at the United Nations in conformity with Article 102 of the United Nations Charter. That agreement is there right now in the archives of the United Nations Secretariat. If you go for there, you go see them, you go download them. We don't publish them for our pages and for Facebook, for YouTube, and for our website www.countrypeople.com. Go download the documents, examine them. So, Molanjo Litumbe, you go find or you go look in all the archives in the world, you know go see one document where John Gofoncha don't ever sign them when an international document, because John Gofoncha it not beget sovereign powers. So now only sovereign nations they enter into international agreements. John Gofoncha has never been a leader of a sovereign nation. So you know go find one document where John Gofoncha signed them when an international document it no exist. If he sign which way they call them say a memorandum of understanding. A memorandum of understanding no be an international agreement, no be an international treaty. And now why that way? When I go for United Nations, when I go anywhere in the world, go for find the so-called Union Treaty, the only document where it exists, now the one where the British, they signed them with President Amadou Ahidjo for transfer the sovereignty of that territory to President Amadou Ahidjo, and that is an internationally recognized treaty. John Gofoncha no be get the competence for sign on that document. It could sign as who? Now the British, they be own the sovereign power over the territory, and before they leave, they transfer the sovereignty to President Amadou Ahidjo. If you don't believe me, that man where he stand or he sit next to Molanjo Litumbe, now Professor Carlson Anyangwe, he go explain them better, make una hear.
The British, by their own admission, had the sovereignty over the Southern Cameroon to la République de Cameroon.
On the 1st of October, the date set by the United Nations for the British Southern Cameroon to achieve independence, what happened on that date was the British simply invited that foreign country to Ambazonia, and they, in their own words, transferred sovereignty to that foreign country.
So una say this idea or this argument about Njumba no be married, na argument where in no hold water, it don't fall apart. Which way you also need to understand and say, any person get right for your own opinion, any person get right for make your own argument. Which way matter, na say, when different person, where it been a third party, where it been neutral, when they listen to the arguments from the two sides them, which decision they go make them. That is the important thing. Make I explain further. You see, when Bakassi Peninsula case be come up, Cameroon government is sue Nigerian government for International Court of Justice. What it happen I say, the International Court of Justice it get justices them or it get judges where they sit down on the bench. So these judges they come up from all over the world, from Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Japan, and they don't get them a vested interest in which way they happen for Bakassi Peninsula. So they be neutral. Their job now for listen to the case from the two sides them, for listen to each person's argument. And now one of the reasons is where judges that usually been an odd number. So if you get 3 judges, 1 judge, if you get 5, 7 or 9. The reason is so that when the judges they listen to the case, they go vote. And one person it go win. So Nigeria it bring its own argument, it table them, it convince the judges. Cameroon it to bring its own arguments them on the table, it convince the judges. They bring evidence. Cameroon, it bring the Franco-German agreement where they get them for God knows when on a British-German agreement. That agreement between the British and the German Cameroon, where it demarcate the border of German Cameroon. Now from that agreement between the British and the Germans, where the United Nations International Court of Justice, it said that territory, the sovereignty for that territory, it belonged to Cameroon. So why I explain this thing for Unana? So make una understand, say, any person get their own opinion and any person get their own argument about any situation. What the way matter? Now say, when judges, they should listen the case, how they go vote. One person go win and the other person, they go losses. And now why that way, before you bring your argument for court or anywhere else, you get to be prepared, say the person will go listen your argument, they go make your own decision or you go formulate your own opinion. So the problem with the Anglophones now say, because they always talk now amongst themselves, they convince now themselves. So they believe, say they get a very good argument. But who are you debating with? You are talking to yourself and you are talking amongst yourself. When Cameroon government, if you take Nigeria, go for court, the highest court in the world, for this Bagassi Peninsula case, Cameroon win. The judges, they listen to Nigeria's side of the argument, they listen to Cameroon government's side of the argument, and they adjudicate and they arrive at a conclusion. They decide, say the sovereignty of Bakassi, where it is under Zian division, when a part of the former British Southern Cameroons, the sovereignty of that territory lies with Cameroon. President Olusegun Obasanjo of Nigeria is signed for accept that decision. President Paul Biya of Yaoundé is signed for accept that decision. Kofi Annan, the United Nations Secretary General, is signed as a witness. The British government signed, Germany signed, America signed, France is signed on that document for accept the verdict. So now, faced with this reality, who on the international scene are you going to convince? Saying Jumba no be married argument. Who are you going to talk to? First of all, you who? You go talk as who? You go take the case going for which court? United Nations, you no get seat for day. So you will be talking as who? African Union, they don't recognize you. Who are you? So you go talk as who? You go take the case going for Usai, for Gambia, where we talk so take and go for Banjul, when a human rights court. And the decision for that human rights court, it not be they didn't even make that decision, sir. They make that recommendations. The recommendation from that human rights court for Banjul now say makes Capo and SCNC, they go back for Cameroon, they go form political parties for Cameroon, contest election for Cameroon, because that court is recognized, say Cameroon as sovereign nation, one and indivisible. So when I make all these academic arguments, them when I write thesis for university, when I talk from bar, convince them like how you convince your woman and picking them for house, talk amongst ourselves. But after 40 years, 50 years, when I go there exactly the same position, when I no go move, no change, because when they talk now to ourselves, when I take this argument, go now only from bar, this argument no go hold water for United Nations. It no go hold water for the African Union, and that is where the argument matters, because that is where recognition is given to sovereign states. That is where independence is recognized. So who is Molanjo Litumbe within Jumba no be married? If not but person where it just make an argument for convince yourself and your own people them. So Anglophones, we have to learn. What way when I call them say independence, it could be determined on who go recognize the independence. When I make all of these arguments, and I understand why when I make some of the arguments, now for radicalize our own population, so that they be angry enough for carry checker from cry guns and go for bush. Now when I don't achieve them, from the 90s till today, when I radicalize Anglophone youth, they carry the guns, they go for bush today. What have you achieved? We're then now in a situation where Anglophones, they kill Anglophones them. And even the gendarmes, the army, they kill the Amba terrorists them, display their dead body in public. Case goes nowhere. We put ourselves in this situation. So make we try get sense. Make we understand how the world it work. I don't propose, say Anglophones, they need to come together in a conference for deliberate, come to a consensus understand the Anglophone crisis, and propose solutions. No be not this argument from Boba saying Jumba no be married. Who cares? Then Jumba no be married. It never stopped Cameroon government from exploiting the natural resources like CDC, palm oil, and you can name it Sonara, offshore oil rights. It never stopped them. So continue over the talk. Then Jumba no be married. If we start talking since the 1990s, so till the day when God called the ego, within 2024, what has changed? When I still continue to talk, then Jumba no be married, no be so. Make we get sense, my country people then. Today, na number 25 day for October 2024, where I make this publication. My country people then. When I visit with our website, www.countrypeople.com. We're there for Facebook, for YouTube, for Twitter, all over social media, just like MTN, everywhere you go.